Hi, I'm Jonathan McDonald from Potency.world, a revolution in girls' education from 11 to 18. Contact me to find out more about this. But today I'm here in my capacity as an interviewer for Business Live Global. We run this radio station 24 hours a day, interviewing businesses and movers and shakers and change makers and thought leaders. We want to hear from all of you, and in each of these shows we'll be asking questions, and then you get to choose your best song at the end of it. So it really gives you a great opportunity to put across yourself in a more personal manner. So let's see who we've got in the room today. He's the executive director of Live and Let Live and the host of Apocalyptic Chats. I give you Zen Benefiel. Zen, how you doing?
I'm doing great today, Jonathan. Thanks for having me on.
Absolute pleasure. I know that our Business Live audience will be pleased with what you do because you do so many things. You and I are both adopted, and we're going to be doing a recording about that next week. But I did want to touch on it briefly. How
Sure.
did you find reconciling your adoption?
Well, it was actually pretty easy because I had a great childhood. I was told earlier about it. I had a wonderful introduction into the inner worlds as a result of my questioning why and finding some inroads that most people don't as a result.
Mm-hmm.
And then, at 61, I met my birth mother finally,
Wow.
and that I'd met my birth father in 1989 at a local gathering. And so, it was a nice process for me.
Good. That's good. I met my birth mother when I was 48. So that was, a little bit different. But same as you, always knew I was adopted. It was never an issue. And, you know, we'll talk about the issues about adoption in that show. So what I want to know
There are
really,
handymen too.
this live and let live movement that you have, why did you start exploring cognitive science,
Well, cognitive
metaphysics?
science is, it's the study of patterns, how we think, how we behave, the patterns that each of us have. And of course, we see them in the world as a reflection of our own self and what's going on inside of us, although we don't always recognize that until there's a bit of maturity, right? So
Mm,
in that bit of maturity, I was hosting one of my apocalyptic chats, One World and a New World, and I interviewed the founder of the movement, the Live and Let Live movement, Mark Victor, and just had an immediate deep resonance. And it was like, okay, I've been preparing 47 years to step into this organization. And through a
mm,
conversation we had offline a couple of weeks later, I mentioned that I had the skill set for executive director if he needed one. And didn't at the time, but a month and a half later, I get a phone call and I was asked if I was willing to work with a woman in Hawaii as co-directors. And I said,
mhm.
absolutely, that sounds perfect as a gender balanced
Yeah.
leadership team for the new era, right? And so we stepped in March of 2022
Mhm.
and began a lot of pre-launch prep work that hadn't been done.
Mm.
And as I mentioned, a 26-page corporate style guide is just one of those things. And if we're going to be functioning as a global organization, those kinds of things need to be in place.
Right. Question. So because you've been working on the communication and style guide, what
Mhm.
is Let and Let Live about?
Well, Live and Let Live is basically it's a philosophy that has two principles: live and let live. The live we call our moral principle, and that means be a good human,
Mhm.
treat everybody with, concern, kindness, and depending on your level of awareness, activity, and so on and so forth, we can unpack that and discuss how to grow personally in your own self-awareness and ability to perform at greater levels in your community. Now,
Mm.
that's one of the things. Now, the other side of it, the let live, we call the legal principle, and we use the term or the phrase, don't be an aggressor,
Mm.
and how we long-term see that effectivity is in actually calibrating the law to remove all aggression from
Mm.
individual clear through to governments. And now that's going to take some time. It's going to take some political activity. So as a nonprofit organization from the foundation side, we cannot support a specific individual or a specific campaign. However, we can be politically active in creating think tanks and offering white papers and so on and so forth, in to others who do want to step up
Right.
and office. Now, that's going to take a while because not everybody's ready to do that. So
Yeah.
building the membership base first is a prerequisite to the funnel, if you will. You know,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
as the membership grows statistically, there's going to be those people who can step up and lead in their local areas, and then we can help them in providing information and resources.
Right, right, right. So you're like a bank effectively of all the skills you need to be a better human being.
Correct.
Mm.
And we've got a lot of different people involved to help do that from all kinds of different perspectives.
So that is both a philosophy and cognitive science. The question then is, how is the evolution of intelligence occurring in the world today? Because I've got to tell you, I don't think it is.
Well, on a cursory level, it sure seems like it's not, especially over the last couple of years, right?
Mm,
Well, what the silver lining is from that, as I've experienced, is that people have chosen to go inside, do a little self-reflection,
hmm
and come out with a better attitude, and activity. They're seeking each other to figure out, okay, how can we facilitate this change we know is necessary,
hmm
and to do it in a collaborative and cooperative manner, which is kind of the essence of what Live and Let Live's about too.
Yeah, indeed.
So this kind of gives us an opportunity to move forward as a society, um, kind of a planetary evolution type thing, and moving from one age to the other. Now
hmm
that sounds kind of woo-woo to most people, or at least some, but there's some really practical and pragmatic activities in that that we've been ignoring. We've been apathetic in um, trusting our leadership, right?
Yes.
Just being really self-focused and not even necessarily knowing our neighbors, right? We've become so micro-focused on self. So
Yeah.
now we're beginning to expand that again because we realize that, oh, that's not working. And there's evidence in many realms, from science, quantum physics, from there's a Russian academician named Valentina Morovina who did a dissertation on the global um, mutation in humanity. So she's traced
Mm.
the science of it from a biophysical level and has the 10 years of research that she's presented from doing so. So there's all these kinds of, and she's not the only one. There's a lot of individuals who and organizations who've been doing research and quietly working in the background that now are able to step up because the energy's changed.
So you would say that there is hope then?
Absolutely. There. And
Yeah, yeah. No, it's good. It's good. Very, very good. Now, listen, Business Live Global listeners and businesses in our network are most likely to use your services as a coach and a facilitator. So, how does that make a difference in their lives too?
well, as you know, and often others would once they start thinking about it, is what we do every day, anywhere we do everywhere. And we live half inside and half outside. So understanding those two components, then we structure a program. I've got a survey and it's kind of long, so I'm serious about what I'm doing. And then we take that survey, we figure out what an inner and outer action plan is
Mm,
so that they're both congruent, because both have to be in place in order to be fully effective. And
mm,
then we manage that over time. And as a facilitator, I've been in some really interesting situations, from huge events with 250,000 people that arrive in one night to partnering workshops that I do for building road and bridge construction projects that deal with the really concrete issues of construction over a long period of time, because those projects are usually 2 to 5 years long.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
with short-term goals, long-term goals, the patience, perseverance, um, persistence, passion, and purpose that go along with them. And then we craft that into a plan that is really beneficial and oftentimes rather magical,
Yeah.
because you change your thinking, the world changes.
It's a hard concept for people who have not yet been across the threshold to get, but it's very, very true. Now, we're coming up to the end of our time. Such a short interview. I'm sorry about that. We are now going to play a song. Now, tell me about this song, because someone wrote it. Yeah, tell me about that.
I don't know that we combined our skill sets as musicians. This was an improv that we just happened to record. And as with many tunes that this particular group of people were able to put together, it's somewhat magical in how the sound came together and how we were all able to have kind of a magical conversation musically.
Excellent. Excellent.